Hi there, it's Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com, here with a video that I don't know how well this is going to be received, but after a little bit of contemplation and hearing the other side of the story and trying to look at this through other perspectives, especially one of the comments on my Splinter Twin ban, my analysis on Splinter Twin ban, that maybe Splinter Twin wasn't the right card to ban out of the deck, then maybe we should keep the archetype alive and try a different card out of the kind of Splinter Twin combo to ban. And right now it's got 3 pieces that you can make with the Splinter Twin combo, and you could actually say that there's more if you consider some of the white cards like Village Bellringer. Is that the one? Or Midnight Guard, I think, can also do it with Splinter Twin. But anyway, right now what twin decks usually use is either pestermite, Deceiver Exarch, or Bounding Krasis. So let's just go ahead and pull up a display screen here. So these are the cards, and usually it's a split between if they are in green or blue, you might see some Bounding Krasis enter the deck list, but that only goes in a specific Rug Twin shell, which a lot of them did start playing because Ancient Grudge was a very good card in Splinter Twin because it helped them with one of the matchups that was very, very rough, which was Affinity. But anyway, most twin decks was a split of 4-2 Deceiver Exarchs. So let me give a different analysis now and why I think I've changed my opinion on the Splinter Twin ban. And I'm thinking that the ban probably should have been Deceiver Exarch. Now there's the logistical point, or just they reprinted Splinter Twin in Modern Masters 2. They did not reprint Deceiver Exarch. In fact, they did not reprint Deceiver Exarch. It wasn't eligible in Modern Masters 1, so we have not seen a Deceiver Exarch for quite a while, and it's an uncommon that approached the $3. I think it was almost up to $3.50 before the banning for Deceiver Exarch, and I just think that's a lot better for Wizards to ban a common or an uncommon. Like you've seen this in the past, rather than ban Grove of the Burn Willows, they banned the other piece to it, the fire. It was a 2-mana spell that whenever an opponent gained a life, you can actually return. Can't think of the card right off the bat. But anyway, so instead of banning like a high value card like Grove of the Burn Willows, they decided to ban the common or uncommon piece that went with it. And I think that's a pretty good stance to take when you're looking at banning. So one of the games I like to play, I talk about this a lot, which is Dota 2, and then in the past I played StarCraft pretty religiously. I was actually trying to be a competitive StarCraft player when I was younger. But one of the things that I respect highly about both Dota 2 and StarCraft is when they did, not quite bannings, but what we call nerfings to particular strategies. Dota 2 has been notorious in the past to make more of Band-Aid fixes rather than sweeping. Like in other games, like when I used to play World of Warcraft, when they would ban, say, Warlocks or Rogues or nerf Warlocks and Rogues, they would massively nerf them to the point that they were unable to even play. Like it went from like the top tier strategies in Arena being like a Warlock to after the nerfing, you couldn't even play a Warlock. It was just completely unplayable, or a particular strategy with that. So if those of you might be unfamiliar with WoW or Dota or stuff, might not understand these references. But some games in the past, if they've really done these sweeping, what we consider nerfs, or when they make a certain strategy or character not nearly as powerful as it used to be. But Dota, what they do is you'll see these slight either upgrades or nerfs to like -1 armor, for example, to their starting armor, or +2 attack to their starting attack. Like very, 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 very subtle changes, and see how that will affect the metagame and affect the overall power of the character. And then they decide if they need to make more drastic changes as time will tell. If that character still continues to overwhelm the metagame, if it continues to be the most powerful character and is keeping back other characters, then they can make changes as needed. But so that's my philosophy, I think, in the Magic the Gathering should also take, is when they're looking at a banning, make a slight banning. Don't just kill the strategy. Try to just make it more inconvenient, for example, or just a small piece. And we'll talk about the Amulet of Bloom banning, or the Summer Bloom banning, later in a different video, where I think that maybe a different card should have been banned out of that archetype. I'm okay with that, but just because it was just an insane card. It violated the turn 2, and that it sits a lot with me rather than the Splinter Twin banning. I know a lot of people, I know PVDDR also has been pretty outspoken about how he does not like the Splinter Twin banning. So anyway, before you is my suggestions of why Deceiver Exarch should have been banned over Splinter Twin, and then they could have kept their eye on Splinter Twin and said, hey, Splinter Twin is in our microscope here. If it continues to dominate the format, if it continues to make it so other strategies, blue control strategies or blue tempo strategies are not viable because people are just going to throw in the Splinter Twin into every blue red tempo shell, then they can give out that warning, say, hey, Splinter Twin is under that microscope. It could be banned, but first we're going to try banning of other piece to it. And I think that piece should be Deceiver Exarch. Now here is my reasoning. Before you is all of the cards, every single card right now that I could come up with that kills pestermite but does not kill Deceiver Exarch, and where Deceiver Exarch is actually more of the problem because pestermite Splinter Twin will be a much more vulnerable shell. So I'm just going to go down every piece that is available in Modern and show you exactly why I think that if banning Deceiver Exarch, that Twin will not be the big bad boy on campus that it used to be, and is a lot more susceptible to removal. So this first category here is cards that currently see play in Modern at I would say a reasonable rate. We have Lightning Bolt that sees a ton of play. I think it's the most played or second most placed card in Modern, depending on the day, but it's been on that 1, 2, 3 slot forever since Modern was started. It's just such a very versatile removal spell and damage to the face. It's just value. This card screams value with the Lightning Bolt. So Lightning Bolt currently sees play in every, like Jund, it sees play in most red aggro strategies, sees play in Burn. You see even Twin plays it and Delver plays it. Oh, it's just an incredible card. That does not hit Deceiver Exarch. That is a huge problem when the premier removal spell does not kill the Twin combo. I think right there alone we can justify that Splinter Twin we could try out Splinter Twin with Pestermite and Bounding Krasis when the #1 removal spell kills both of them. So yes, a lot of Twin players are just waiting until they have the Dispel mana, but it still makes it a lot more vulnerable shell. If you know your opponent does not have a way to kill Deceiver Exarch, a lot of times you can just chuck it out and win a lot of games right then and there, rather than having to worry about your Pestermite or Bounding Krasis getting bolted. So that is an obvious choice for really nerfing the Twin combo when the #1 spell is used like crazy and can shut down your combo. Another one that is starting to see a lot more play, and I think that Black would pick up a lot more, is Disfigure. Disfigure would completely kill Deceiver Exarch. Now, it wouldn't kill the Bounding Krasis, but we already have said Bounding Krasis would have to go over into a green shell, which makes the deck a lot more vulnerable. That means that they're not going to be able to go into Grixis Twin or Jeskai Twin as easily. And then Krasis still dies anything that does 3 damage. Also, one of the major problems with Bounding Krasis is when it enters the battlefield, you can only tap or untap target creature. What made Pestermite and Deceiver Exarch so good is you could tap down a land. And so, like, one of the things with Soul Sister is keep up a plains, and they would just chuck in the Pestermite end of turn or Deceiver Exarch end of turn, targeting my plains, and that would force me to Path to Exile their Pestermite or Deceiver Exarch, rather than wait for them to untap, try to throw a Twin on a Pestermite. It basically gives them the go-ahead green light that they can basically go off with their Twin combo when they tap down that land. Bounding Krasis cannot do that, so it's a lot worse of a card than the Deceiver Exarch. The 3 power is very, very insignificant. I mean, there's a few things like, we'll talk about them, Zealous Persecution, Golgari Charm, that Bounding Krasis could get around, that neither Pestermite or Deceiver Exarch can get around, but I don't think that the pros to Bounding Krasis really overweigh the cons of it not being able to tap or untap a land. I mean, again, that is your untapping, like, Dispel mana and things like that. So anyway, let's go back to the list of cards that already see major play. So there's Disfigure that Black could easily splash in, take care of Pestermite. We have Searing Blaze, which is another heavily played card in certain decks like Zoo plays Searing Blaze every now and again because they run so many fetch lands. Burn plays Searing Blaze. And what's cool about Searing Blaze against Pestermite is the landfall will kill the Bounding Krasis, but if you don't even have landfall, you can keep up Searing Blaze, to kill off the pestermite. So basically, Twin's only hope versus burn is for them to combo off and win. They can't play that late game strategy that they can play versus kind of like with the switch gears and go into more of a control shell or a tempo shell. Twin wins a lot of games just by tempoing out their opponent. It's cards like Pestermite and Snapcaster Mage getting in for 2 damage a turn while remanding things, lightning bolting things, clearing the board, and then even late game Snapcaster lightning bolts can just kill off a player. A lot of Twin games did not end because of the Twin combo. It was just always in there to make an opponent really, really worried that you can Twin combo. You always had to play around the Twin combo, which gave the deck such an edge. So Searing Blaze, you could safely just keep that up, kill the Pestermite. Searing Blood does the exact same thing. Searing Blood is instant speed, kill a Pestermite, also do 3 damage. We have Izzet Charm, so kind of the blue-red shells, the Delver shells have not only can they counter a non-creature spell, which is the majority of the Splinter Twin deck, they can deal 2 damage to a creature, which kills Pestermite. They can also, you can use it to loot, which is really good with like Grixis Delve, drawing 2 cards and discarding 2 cards to give you ammo to get out that early Tasigur. So, or just more food for your Snapcaster Mage. So Izzet Charm is a perfect answer for the Pestermite. We have Magma Jet, which has fallen out of favor recently. I haven't seen this in Modern as much as we used to see it, but Red decks Burn used to run this. I used to see this in Jund every now and again just because the Scry was very, very powerful. You got to think about Scry as, I've heard it quoted that it's like 1/3 of a card. So Magma Jet is almost like draw 2/3 of a card because it helps you scry away 2 cards that you may not need and helps set up for future plans. And in Magic, that is everything, being able to set up your draws. So Magma Jet could start to see more play. It doesn't kill the Deceiver Exarch or the Bounding Krasis, but it does kill Pestermite. Go on to Electrolyze. This is a card that sees heavy play in Modern that can't kill Deceiver Exarch. You can now, Pestermite has to worry about getting 2 for 1. Basically, you kill the Pestermite and draw a card, or kill a Pestermite and a Snapcaster Mage. One of the things that is also very vulnerable about the Twin Shell is the Vendilion Click, or Vendilion Click, and the Pestermite and the Snapcaster Mage are all 1 toughness. This makes them very, very vulnerable to cards like Electrolyze, or cards that I'm going to talk about coming up in these other categories. We also have a very heavily played card in the form of Kholaghans Command. Kholaghans Command deals 2 damage to our creature player. It also makes them discard a card, destroys an artifact, and can return a creature from your graveyard or hand, so it's perfect in a Jund or Grixis type shell, and it would kill Pestermite. So these cards, we call it collateral damage. Twin would start to suffer from cards, hate cards, that weren't specifically even being put in to hate out against their combo. Right now, Deceiver Exarch requires specific cards that can deal with it, like Rending Volley, that does 4 damage to it, rather than 3 damage or 2 damage or 1 damage. One of the decks that I use a lot in my Scred Red is Volcanic Fallout. What makes this very good is it's uncounterable, so the Twin can't keep up this spell. It is uncounterable to kill the Pestermite. Pestermite would be a lot more vulnerable a shell to Volcanic Fallout and red control-based decks if Deceiver Exarch, they don't care. They absolutely do not care about Volcanic Fallout. It survives it, and it can go off. Jund Charm is another instant speed 2 damage spell, which also hates out any sort of graveyard-based strategies like Living End. One of the problems with Jund is Jund does have a hard time against Living End, and Jund Charm was a answer versus Living End, especially being instant speed. When the opponent tried to cascade off, you could Jund Charm in, exile their graveyard, and then they would not have any value out of their Living End. So Jund can also kill the Pestermite. It can also put 2+1/+1 counters, which is also really nice in like a Tarmogoyf aggro-based strategy. Very solid card that would be an answer towards Pestermite. Last card in here does kill Deceiver Exarch if you have Metalcraft, but Twin had a lot of ways to, in response to Galvanic Blast, shut off Metalcraft. Metalcraft is quite easy to get in Affinity or Robots type builds, but you could always Electrolyze in response, kill like a Signal Pest and a Steel Overseer or something like that, or a Vault Scourge, and there was those times where the Twin player was able to get their opponent out of Metalcraft range, and especially what's the card that returns all artifacts, for example, the Hurkyl's Recall in response, and then the Galvanic Charm does not kill the Deceiver Exarch, and they go off. Galvanic Blast, you can safely kill a Pestermite. It doesn't have to have Metalcraft to do that, so it makes the affinity a little bit better against the Twin. Now we have cards that do answer Twin, but only for one turn if it's on Deceiver Exarch. Like, then they just have to wait for either the effect to wear off, or then they just have to wait for an Echoing Truth to bounce the Illness of the Ranks or the Knight of Souls Betrayal. But both of these would permanently kill the pestermite. Like, they'd have to bounce this before they pestermited and then put the twin, Splinter Twin on the pestermite. Not safely put the Splinter Twin on the Deceiver Exarch and then just, okay, we'll eventually draw into the Echoing Truth and then bounce it and go off. So Knight of Souls Betrayal and Illness of the Ranks both would kill at least the token base of the pestermite. I mean, Illness of the Ranks, I guess, could still be safely put on a pestermite and then have to bounce it and then go off. But that is not true with Knight of Souls Betrayal. The -1 power was a solution for Deceiver Exarch. The -1 toughness is a very permanent solution to pestermite. Let's go to Golgari Charm. Golgari Charm, again, all creatures get -1 until end of turn. Would kill the pestermite, would only stop the twin combo for one turn. The destroy enchantment and regenerate each creature control is very, 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 very good in, again, Jund and Abzan builds in Modern. There is a lot of pesky enchantments. There's also times like board wipes that you can regenerate everything. Golgari Charm could then be a sideboard card specifically against Twin that you could still bring in against other matchups that destroy all creatures, for example. So Damnation or Wrath of God or Supreme Verdict. Or pesky enchantments like Bogles. You can destroy their, if they have one enchantment and Daybreak Coronet on something, that is just a huge swing when you're able to destroy like like a Spirit Link in a Daybreak Coronet, for example, that's on a creature. Zealous Persecution. This was also only a one-turn solution to a Deceiver Exarch, but this is an indefinite solution to Pestermite, so it makes your black-white tokens deck a lot better against Twin. This is already currently seeing a lot of play. People are starting to put this in even Eldrazi, the Lingering Souls Eldrazi, because it's a way to give your Blight Herder tokens and your Lingering Soul tokens the ability to swing in for lethal quite easily. You have a Lingering Souls, that's 4 tokens, and a Blight Herder is, what, 3 more tokens? You can attack in for an additional 7 damage with a perfectly timed Zealous Persecution. So right here we already have a lot of cards that are already seeing play that would have other implications, would have other uses besides just shutting down Twin that currently aren't being utilized to shut down Twin. So let's go on to this next category. This next category is just 1-drops that each color could bring in to deal with Pestermite. This one, Piracy Charm, has seen play in Infect before because it's something that can give +2/+1 or +2 power, which is Infect is like +4 power, and also has some other cool abilities like the Piracy Charm can give Island Walk to a creature, which basically is unblockable in certain matchups, like against Merfolk, for example. It can give your Glistener Elf unblockable. You can make a player discard a card, which is actually very relevant even in Infect. And the target creature gets +2/-1, can then kill off the Pestermite, or be used as a pump spell, for example. So a lot of blue decks, specifically Merfolk, could bring this in as an answer versus Twin. They already have Vapor Snag, but it's just another answer. And the 2 damage in Island Walk is very relevant. We have Funeral Charm, which is Piracy Charm's card before it got time shifted or plain whatever the set was called, where they reversed the color pie. But Funeral Charm does the exact same thing except for Swamp Walk. So Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth decks, like I used to love this deck in the Infect discard deck. So basically it was like 8 rack, but what you're trying to do instead of kill people off with racks is you kill people off with Inkmoth Nexus or the Phyrexian Crusader. Phyrexian Crusader has 2 toughness, so it's the perfect card to put with Funeral Charm. It has Infect, so you give it +2. Also has First Strike, so you could First Strike down a lot of cards. But you could give him +2/+1, which would basically equal 4 damage with Infect. And the target creature against Swamp Walk is very relevant in a deck that is running Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth. So Funeral Charm would be another great card that answers Pestermite. This is my favorite answer to Pestermite, is Gut Shot. Now we have a free spell that could kill a Pestermite, which was, up to this point, pretty useless. What Gut Shot would add to a bunch of other decks is you could bring it in versus Dark Confidant, you could bring it in versus like Soul Sister type builds, or again versus Infect. It's a 0-cost spell that you could first turn on their turn when they go first turn Glistener Elf. You can go Gut Shot right then and there, kill it, and they don't have any mana. They don't have to worry about you having mana. I mean, they could bring in like a mutagen growth, and then if you're a red deck, for example, or have another gut shot in your hand, then on your turn you can drop land and then try to kill the Glistener Elf again. So gut shot would be a great sideboard card versus a ton of decks. Again, it still kills Vendilion Click, it still kills Snapcaster Mage. It kills a ton of these little 1-drops that are in the format. Grim Lavamancers. So then we have Geistflame. How about the same thing? There's 1 damage to a creature player, and we can flash it back. It's very good against Anafen's and Company, killing 2 birds for the cost of 1. We have Wild Slash, which does 2 damage to our creature player, and the Ferocious is actually quite relevant with damage can't be prevented. Electrickery is an instant speed, 1 damage to our creature control, or overload it for 1 damage to each creature an opponent controls. So again, if they try to go off with Pestermite, you could actually overload it and kill some Snapcasters and Vendilion Clicks. We have Magma Spray, which I think is actually very good against Voice of Resurgence. That here is another card that you can hate out more cards than just the twin combo. You can bring this in against anything that wants to be recurred via the graveyard. We have Grave Crawlers, for example. We have it also takes away dying effects, so Magma Spray can be brought in versus any sort of those type of decks. Flame Jab, which is a retraceable 1 damage to target creature or player. Retrace, very good in any sort of searing or Life in the Loam type deck. Here's one of my favorites that you can bring in specifically versus Twin, which is Electrostatic Bolt. What I like about Electrostatic Bolt is it actually kills off I'm having a hard time thinking of cards right now. The Spellskite. Spellskite does 4 damage to it. You can take out the Spellskite, or you can take out the Pestermite. One of the things with Spellskite is they can redirect like Lightning Bolts and Searing Blazes forever. But you can bring in cards specifically that can both hate out both. Electrostatic Bolt would be perfect for that type of interaction. You can also still bring in Rending Volley, which can only deal damage to a blue or white creature, so Spellskite can't redirect it. Or there's just so many ways you can kill off the Spellskite nowadays. Twisted Image goes in a lot of decks. I think that the shell would have to utilize a lot more Spellskites to try to get the Pestermite Spellskite combo going. We have Rain of Blades. Rain of Blades could come in for white, which Rain of Blades deals 1 damage to each attacking creature. When they try to go off with the Pestermite combo, you just Rain of Blades it. Kill everything. Maybe you kill some Snapcaster Mages and Vendilion Clicks while you're at it. And we have the free version of Rain of Blades called Marrow Shards. Marrow Shards deals 1 damage to each attacking creature. Another instant speed free spell that you can actually bring in versus Lingering Souls. It's very good against Souls. It's very good against a lot of these other 1 toughness creatures. Then we have in green, even green has an answer at 1 mana, which is in the form of Hornet Sting. Hornet Sting deals 1 damage to our creature or player. Maybe green decks would not have to start using as many Dismembers. Again, this can be brought in versus Glistener Elves. It can be brought in versus Noble Hierarchs and Birds of Paradise. You have cards like Tribal Pester Smoke that the Fairies decks can then utilize to draw a card, like the Bitter Blossom decks or just any old fairies can bring in Pepper Smoke to kill off the Deceiver Exarch and still draw a card. Again, the goal is just to kill a Pestermite. Tragic Slip gets a lot better because now you don't have to have Morbid online. It will just flat out kill the Pestermite. And the black-green poison can actually go Virulent Wound. I don't know if they'd care about that, but it was still another option. So those are the 1-drops. Now we have the 2-drops. Sudden Shock, which is another uncounterable 2 damage to our creature player, which also cannot be spell-skited over because of the split second. We have Twin Bolt that can kill off a Pestermite and a Snapcaster Mage or Vendilion Click. Or just do 2 damage to something. Now anything with like you can bring this in versus Jund pretty safely because it kills a Dark Confidant or maybe 2 Dark Confidants, but also can kill a Scavenging Ooze. We have Leeching Bite, which could be a 2-for-1, kind of save a creature, kill a creature, target creature +1/+1, another target creature -1/1. I mean, it can be brought in versus Pestermite, and you can still have this kind of pseudo pump or these are actually pretty good in combat type tricks. Echoing Decay kills all target creature and other creature with the same name as it, gets -2/2. Again, it did work against Deceiver Exarch for that turn, but the Deceiver Exarch still stayed alive. Echoing Decay, you can still target the Pestermite. And does this get around Spellskite because all the creatures could, no, then it redirects it. Bile Blight, same thing. Did not kill Pestermite, or did not kill Deceiver Exarch, would kill Bounding Krasis and Pestermite. We have Sickening Shoal. This one gets a lot more interesting because you can exile a black card instead of play its converted mana cost. So it could just be a Thoughtseize or a dead Thoughtseize or a dead Inquisition, possibly. I mean, against Twin, you'll be using those. but you can still Sickening Shoal a Dark Confidant, even anything that is a black card. Now you have a Kholaghans Command. That's one that's perfect. -3, -3. Which Deceiver Exarch was very hard in Modern. I mean, you'd have to pitch like a Olivia, for example. I mean, you couldn't even pitch a Liliana to stop their twin combo. The Sickening Shoal would be a lot easier, even just to spend 3 mana to give a creature -1/-1 when they try to put the twin on it. So really like the Sickening Shoal would then be playable as a sideboard card against twin. We have also Pharika's Cure and Sorin's Thirst that are great in black against burn because the 2 damage is so relevant. Kills most of the stuff out of burn. Kills Lavamancers, kills Eidolons, kills Goblin Guide. It can kill, if you time it right, it can kill the Monastery Swiftspear. So I think that these could be very good against both twin and burn. Then we have these creatures that are an answer for twin and burn. We have the Izzet Staticaster, which you can flash in to deal 1 damage in each creature that shares a type. We have Mortarpod and Frostling and Mogg Fanatic and Fume Spitter. All of these cards can kill the Pestermite, which did not kill the Deceiver Exarch. Lastly, we have the cards that can only target creatures with flying, which I think are really cool because they can't target Spellskite. Plummet, destroy target creature flying. That's Pestermite. We have Scattershot Archer. This is a favorite in Pauper format, but Scattershot Archer I think is really, really cool because it kills all of the Lingering Souls. It kills, there's some pesky flyers, Birds of Paradise. I think this is a great card you could bring in if you're a green-based deck. I can see Jund easily splashing, or not splashing, or just throwing this in the sideboard now as a way to combat the Pestermite and Lingering Souls. 2 cards that Jund have a problem with. We have Thunderbolt. What I really like about Thunderbolt is an answer for the Kiki Chord deck now. So now a lot of the Splinter Twin players are playing the Restoration Angel Kiki Jiki combo, and Thunderbolt deals 4 damage to our creature flying, so it kills both Pestermite and Restoration Angel. So this is now you're kind of rending volley with like an upside of being able to do 3 damage to target player as well. So Burn, I could definitely see Burn putting Thunderbolt in the sideboard to combat Pestermite and Restoration Angel. We have Gruul Charm, which deals 3 damage to each creature with flying at instant speed. Yeah, the other 2 things aren't as relevant as they could be. I mean, the creatures that flying can't block this turn could be good in a zoo-based deck, I guess. A lot of the chump blockers nowadays are going to be cards like Lingering Souls, but I mean, these are still Blightherder tokens, couldn't block. And then we have Squall-Line, which is instant. Squall-Line deals X damage to each creature flying in each player. So if you want a Windstorm with an upside to do damage to each player, you can do Squall-Line. And then Windstorm, of course, is an instant speed, deals X damage to each creature with flying. Another way, 2 mana, you can take care of Pestermite and Lingering Souls. So there you have it. There's just my justification where I think that maybe Splinter Twin was a bit of a quick ban. I think they should have tried to take out a piece before they actually took out the Splinter Twin, in just a logistical sense where they did just reprint that in Modern Masters 2. The faith of the community is really low about maybe their favorite deck being banned, and if it was just a common or uncommon piece that got banned out of the deck, I think we would have seen a lot less of a backlash, especially since the Deceiver Exarch was not reprinted in Modern Masters 2. So let me know what you think in the comment section. I know this is a very long video, 30 minutes, but it's an huge analysis of what we could do against Splinter Twin and why I'm calling for the unbanning of Splinter Twin and the banning of Deceiver Exarch. Let me know in the comment section below. This is Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com. Thanks for watching.